Suma was a young orphan who had already lost everything. He lived with his grandfather, the only family he had left. One day, his grandfather sat beside him and spoke with a heavy heart. "My son, since your parents passed away, you have been living with me. You have become my entire world. My days in this life are few, and I do not want you to spend your life alone as I did. Build a family of your own, Suma, because being surrounded by love is worth more than anything." Suma listened carefully, and his heart was heavy with emotion. Yet soon after, he also lost his grandfather. He visited the grave regularly, each time sinking deeper into a loneliness he could not escape. Meanwhile, in another world, one of the kingdoms faced terrible threats to its very survival. Their answer was desperate: summon a hero. The royal sorcerers began the summoning ritual. A flood of energy engulfed the land, and the seal of summoning spread across the realm. Back in Suma's world, he was quietly studying in the library when a portal tore open beneath his feet. In an instant, he was dragged inside. His body soared through the sky, and his voice broke with panic. "What madness is this? What is happening to me?" The seal pulled him with merciless force until he landed safely at the summoning site. When Suma opened his eyes, shock froze him in place. He could not grasp what had just happened. Soldiers rushed to him immediately and escorted him to the royal hall. Inside, he witnessed sights that overwhelmed his imagination. The king rose from his throne and declared, "Thank you, Suma, for answering our call and coming to save us." Suma snapped back furiously. "Are you insane? What call? What aid? How did I even get here?" The king was stunned by his anger but tried to calm him. "Please be patient. I will explain." He began his tale. Long ago, humans, dwarves, elves, and even dragons lived in harmony. Then a great calamity arrived. Portals appeared from nothing, unleashing endless monsters. These creatures swept across the continent, leaving ruin behind. The kingdoms united to resist, but their strength failed. Their resources were consumed, and the monsters seized 1/3 of the continent, naming it the Demon Lord's Kingdom. Since then, endless wars have raged between the demons and the remaining realms. Ruin spread everywhere, for demons desired only destruction. Suma asked coldly, "And what exactly do you expect from me? Am I supposed to fix this disaster for you?" The deputy stepped forward. "Listen, Suma. The kingdom of Garen leads the war against the Demon Lord's realm. It bears the heaviest burden. Other nations give aid, but the strain has broken the continent's economy." Suma scoffed. "So why not just pay them?" "What does this have to do with me?" The deputy lowered his head. "Our economy has collapsed. Food is scarce. We cannot pay, nor can we fight. Our only option was written in ancient texts: summon a hero and send him to Garen." Suma stood in silence, stunned. "And what happens to me if I go?" The king answered softly, "That lies in the hands of fate, my son. May God's mercy protect you." Suma realized the danger he was in. He thought about running, but feared being captured and thrown into battle. Suddenly, he had an idea. "If you send me to Garen, will they stop demanding money from you?" The deputy replied, "They will keep asking as long as the war continues." Suma pressed further. "So what then? Will you summon another hero every time?" The deputy admitted, "The last hero was summoned 500 years ago. We had no other choice now." Suma seized the moment. "You fools. Heroes cannot be thrown away so carelessly. The solution is not sending us to die, but building strength. Restore your economy. Reclaim your resources. Train an army powerful enough to defend your land. A hero like me can create the foundation for this. The answer lies with me." In truth, Suma only said this to protect himself, fearing they would force him into the war. Later, Suma sat with his head in his hand and muttered, "O Lord, save me from this disaster I've been dragged into." Suddenly, the king, queen, and deputy sat down with him. Suma demanded that they tell him everything about the kingdom. They agreed. The meeting lasted 3 whole days. Suma learned every detail of the realm and began forming clever plans to address its crises. At last, Suma sat in the royal hall, exhausted and pale, worn down by endless discussion. Then the king made a shocking declaration. "I will abdicate the throne and grant it to Suma. He will be the new king of this land." Suma froze, overwhelmed, unable to speak. The shock deepened when the king added, "I also announce his engagement to my daughter Lisha." The hall erupted in disbelief. The news spread swiftly across the kingdom. No one could understand what was happening. Far away, a girl rode fiercely on her horse, racing toward the royal palace. The palace doors burst open, and in storms, Lysia, the very same Lysia who is now, by royal decree, engaged to Suma. Talk about awkward family dinners in the making. She stands before her parents and declares, "Father, I heard the throne was stolen from you, so I came to restore it back where it belongs." The king waves her down. "Calm yourself, my daughter. Nothing was stolen. I willingly abdicated to Suma. He is far more capable, intelligent, and diligent than I could ever be. Oh, and don't forget, you are now his fiancée." Lycia's eyes widen. "You did all this without even asking me?" She seethes, then storms off to confront the so-called new king. She pushes open the door and freezes. There is Suma, handsome, yes, but clearly wrecked by sleepless nights and endless paperwork. He looks up at her and says, "You there, can you read or not?" She snaps back, insulted. "Of course I can read. I can calculate too." "Good," Suma replies. "Then help me with this work." Lisha flares up. "Had you lost your mind?" "I am Lisha, daughter of the king." "No, daughter of the former king." Suma smirks. "Honestly, I thought you were one of the palace maids in those clothes." Savage. Then he adds, "But since I am king now, put your hand with mine and let's finish this." Lycia gasps. "How insolent you are. You seized the throne, and now you want me to do your homework too?" Suma throws up his hands. "By God, daughter of the people, I do not even know how this happened. I only suggested some economic fixes. At most, I expected to become Minister of Finance. But suddenly, your father named me king. I was as shocked as you." Lycia pauses, then softens. "I thought you were a fraud who stole the crown, but if my father gave it to you, then the error was his, not yours." Suma nods. "As for the throne, I will work to repair the kingdom and then hand it back. As for our engagement, you may break it now if you wish." Her jaw drops. "What? Break it? Am I not good enough for you?" And then, almost panicked, she adds, "Where will you even get money to save this kingdom?" "We are broke, Suma. Completely broke." He leans back confidently. "Do not worry. I already arranged it." Plot twist, Suma sold the royal jewels. Yes, really. He pawned the bling to fund kingdom repairs. Lisha nearly faints. "You did what?" "Selling the treasures of the crown." "Those treasures belong to the people, not to a hoarding royal family. I divided them into 3 categories. First, priceless heritage relics. Second, shiny junk with no historical value. Third, magical artifacts and ancient weapons. I only sold the worthless junk and I gathered a fortune." Lisha blinks, still reeling. "And, did you send any of that money to the kingdom of Garen?" He shakes his head. "No, they'll take what they're due at the deadline anyway. My focus is here, restoring our economy and building an army strong enough to defend this land." And for once, Lycia actually admires his thinking. We are reminded that this world is teeming with dragons, magical beasts, and raw magic everywhere you turn. Back with Suma, a man arrives and announces, "You must undergo the magical test." Legends say the hero holds great power. So, Suma steps up. The test inscribes his magical capacity, and he is left utterly stunned. He cannot believe what it reveals. Soon after, Lycia visits his chambers and is shocked to find that Suma has already chosen 6 individuals to manage the kingdom with him. Not only that, he used magic to animate literal feathers, each with its own consciousness to complete tasks independently. Lisha is awestruck. These aides are tasked with tracking exactly where the kingdom's money flows and sniffing out which officials are stealing it. Suma mutters grimly, "If I discover anyone looting the people's wealth, I will strip him of everything he owns." Time passes, and Suma works relentlessly, drowning in responsibility. His eyes rise from the endless paperwork, and he sees everyone else asleep. Even Lycia, Suma checks on her gently. She startles awake. "I fell asleep against my will." He smiles softly. "It is fine. You actually look beautiful." When Suma told Lycia she looked beautiful while asleep, her face turned crimson. She blushed so hard it was as if the palace suddenly installed central heating. Words failed her. Then Suma leaned in and asked her to join him for a stroll because he had something important to discuss. Soon they were riding a horse together, though riding might be generous. Suma looked absolutely terrified. Lycia smirked. "What weakness? You are supposed to be the man here. Switch places with me if you cannot ride properly." Suma shot back. "I only know how to ride motorcycles. And not just ride, I can do stunts too." Lycia blinked at him like he had just said he came from another planet, which, to be fair, he basically did. Then she softened, asking about his family and his past. Suma explained that he had lived with his grandfather, but after his death, he had been completely alone. Her tone shifted, filled with regret. "Forgive me, I did not know your grandfather had passed away so recently." Suma waved it off. "Do not worry, he was already old and lived his life fully. There is no need to grieve." He led her into a massive cotton field, stretching as far as the eye could see. Then his voice grew serious. Focus on my words. This cotton is one of the main reasons for our kingdom's malnutrition. It is called the Sajari plant. He explained the tragedy. Before the demons invaded the northern continent, the northern nations handled cotton. But when the invasion came, production collapsed. Our kingdom got greedy and turned farmland into cotton fields, abandoning food crops. At first, we made money selling cotton and importing food. But eventually, every kingdom grew cotton. Prices crashed, and we could not even afford imports. That is how famine came to be. Lysia's heart sank. How did none of us notice this? Suma sighed. It does not matter now. What matters is finding a solution. There are many things you must learn. For one day, I may leave this world, and I need to know the kingdom will be safe in your hands. Those words shook Lysia deeply. She did not want him to leave. Later, back in the palace, they sat at the dining table, talking agriculture. Suma outlined plans for self-sufficiency, and Lysia eagerly joined him. Then Arx, captain of the royal guard, arrived. He greeted them, sat down, and asked Suma whether governance had been difficult. Suma replied without hesitation. The greatest problem is the old officials. Only the king's deputy is worth anything. The rest are failures, and we must replace them with people who can actually do their jobs. If they had been competent, the kingdom would never have collapsed. Soon after, Suma made an unusual request to Lisha. I heard you have something like live broadcast? Lisha nodded. Indeed. That was how Suma learned about magical stones that could transmit live images across the realm. Naturally, he wanted to use them. So he went live fantasy Twitch stream, Kingdom Edition. People of the realm, I am in need of your talents. Not your wealth, not your status, your talent. Rich or poor, man or woman, it matters not. Our kingdom is suffering, and only together can we rebuild it. Never think your skill is worthless. I will hold competitions, and the most gifted will earn great rewards. If you believe in your craft, come to me at the palace. The kingdom needs you. His words lit a fire in the people. The broadcast ended, and Suma felt a rare spark of optimism. Across the realm, men and women set out for the palace, eager to prove themselves. We flash back briefly to the cotton field. To those heavy words he spoke to Lysia. You must learn everything, for when I leave, I must know the kingdom will endure. Lysia woke from her sleep with those words echoing in her mind. Fear gripped her heart. The fear that her fiancé might abandon her. A knock interrupted her thoughts. A maid entered and said, My lady, today Suma will honor those who passed the examinations. Your presence is required. Lysia gathered herself and went to the ceremony. The royal hall gleamed with majesty. Suma sat on the throne. The event broadcast live to the entire realm. 5 individuals were to be honored for their extraordinary talent. 4 of them bowed respectfully before the king, but the 5th did not. The guards barked at her. Show respect to the king. The girl stood tall and replied, It is not the way of my tribe to bow to anyone. We bow only to our chief. The captain of the guard bristled with anger. Do you realize what you are saying, girl? Before things could spiral, Suma raised his hand. Calmly, he told them to stand down. The tension melted as everyone adjusted their posture, waiting to see what this unpredictable new king would do next. One by one, the talents were revealed, each more surprising than the last. First came Ashia, a girl from the dark elves of the sacred forest. To everyone's shock, Suma casually dropped facts about the dark elves like he had majored in them, all thanks to his obsessive book reading. Ashia was revealed to be the kingdom's greatest warrior. Suma wanted to reward her, but instead she made a request. Her homeland was dying, plants refused to grow, the forest was withering, and her tribe was on the brink of ruin. She begged Suma for a solution. He rubbed his chin, thought for a moment, then asked, When was the last time you pruned the trees? Ashia blinked. Pruned? What even is that? Suma smiled knowingly. Ah, there's the problem. He explained like a teacher breaking down a science experiment. If you prune large trees, sunlight reaches the smaller ones, letting them grow strong. Without pruning, the tall branches choke out the sun, and the little plants die. That is why your forest is collapsing. The crowd was floored. Ashia bowed with deep respect and begged him to come teach her tribe before the forest completely vanished. Next was Juna, hailed as the most beautiful girl in the kingdom, with a voice that could melt steel. Her gift was singing. Suma, being Suma, pulled out his phone, a device no one in that hall had ever seen. He played a song from his world and asked Juna to replicate it. She listened, absorbed it instantly, and then sang it back with stunning precision. The hall erupted. Everyone clapped, eyes wide in wonder. For a moment, the kingdom forgot war and famine. Then came Pancho. At first, he walked proudly, then suddenly collapsed. The truth? His gift was eating. Yes, eating. Not just snacking, he had an appetite that could shame an army. Suma didn't laugh. Instead, he rushed forward, grabbed Poncho's hand, and said warmly, "Thank you for coming. Your talent is exactly what we need." Poncho burst into tears. He admitted he had always been bullied for his bottomless appetite, bullied until he fell into depression and lost 4 kilograms. Suma reassured him. "Believe me, Poncho, you will save this kingdom." Sure, people joked about locking him up to save food, but Suma's real plan was bigger. By honoring Poncho, he showed everyone that even the most unlikely talent could matter. That message lit hope across the kingdom. Then came Hakuya, a young man whose brain worked like steel gears. He devoured books, mastered history, politics, science, and military tactics. He was practically a one-man think tank. Suma offered him control of the royal library, but Hakuya smirked and asked for more. "Let me place all of my knowledge at your disposal. Make me your advisor." The hall gasped at his boldness. Suma raised an eyebrow. "If you truly believe yourself worthy, I shall give you the chance." Hakuya grinned. "A man like you would not give me this offer unless you already believed in me." Suma burst into laughter. "Enough, Hakuya. You will expose us in front of everyone. Come to my office after the banquet. We'll talk privately." From that moment, everyone knew Hakuya would become his right hand, the Black Prime Minister. Finally came Tomoe, a girl from the clan of the Mystic Wolves. Her gift was dangerous. She could communicate with animals and birds. Through his study of magic and lore, Suma realized her clan's origins lay outside the kingdom. Tomoe herself was a refugee. She trembled, eyes darting nervously, for she carried a grave secret. Suma leaned toward Tomoe with a gentle smile. "Come now, young lady, speak freely. No one else is listening." Tomoe swallowed hard, then revealed a secret so dangerous that Suma struggled to keep a straight face. He asked, "Does anyone else know?" She whispered, "Only my mother, and now you." Suma sank back into his chair, shifted his tone for the room, and declared, "Your request is denied." But then, under his breath, he whispered to her, "I promise I will try to help." He ordered her to meet him in his office after the banquet. The ceremony wrapped up, the honored bowed, and the hall slowly emptied. Later that night, Tomoe sat in the royal office while Suma stood with his aides. "Did any of you hear what Tomoe said?" They shook their heads. No, her voice was too quiet. "Good," Suma said, relieved. "Then the secret is safe." Lycia, watching through the magical broadcast stones, spoke up. "It seems this is serious, Suma. Explain." So Suma dropped the bomb. "You know Tomoe can speak to animals." Everyone nodded. "Of course." "Yes," Suma continued, "but Tomoe can also speak to demons." The room went silent. Then panic. "Impossible. No one can speak the language of demons." But Tomoe confirmed it. She explained that while deep in the forest, she encountered a demon. They understood each other's words perfectly. The demon even warned her to flee before others arrived. Suma cut in. "This changes everything. If she can communicate with demons, she could shift the balance of the entire war." Lycia's voice was sharp. "You mean to negotiate with them?" Suma nodded. "Yes. But right now, every nation has united against the demon kingdom. If this secret spreads, some might side with them and cause chaos. It must remain between us." Tomoe sat down, troubled. Suma reassured them, "We must protect her, no matter what." The captain of the guard volunteered, but the deputy refused. If he protects her openly, suspicion will grow. The deputy suggested, better that she live in the royal palace, as though she had been adopted. Lycia loved the idea, and Suma agreed. But Tomoe frowned. "I cannot leave my family." Suma reassured her. "Then bring them. The palace doors are open to you and your kin." He also asked his deputy to find her work so that her stay would appear natural. The deputy suggested she oversee the royal stables, since she could talk to animals. Tomoe lit up at the idea, and Suma approved at once. Later, Suma sat talking with Lycia when a maid rushed in. "My lord, Poncho is waiting outside." Suma immediately grabbed Lycia and hurried out. Poncho had returned from a mission Suma had personally given him, one that could change the kingdom. His task: collect unusual foods from across the land. Lycia blinked. All this fuss over food? She was about to call it trivial when Suma flipped the tables, literally. A live broadcast began. The people of the kingdom tuned in as Suma, Poncho, and Juna appeared on screen like the stars of a medieval cooking show. Suma explained to the audience, this program would introduce foods no one had ever dared to eat before. The first item? Octopus. Poncho carried it in, and the hall filled with disgust, tentacles flopping everywhere. But Suma calmly cleaned it, sliced it, and rolled it into sushi. When the team tasted it, their eyes went wide. The flavor floored them. Even the viewers gasped. We must try this too. We threw octopus away before. Next came a strange forest plant. Suma demonstrated the preparation while Ashia dove in eagerly. She loved it so much that her tribe, watching through the broadcast, saw her devouring it and considered it scandalous. A warrior caught on live TV stuffing her face. The memes basically wrote themselves. The third item was the strangest: slime. Yes, the same wobbly, balloon-like monsters that usually get stabbed for XP. The question was, how do you eat something that pops like a water balloon? Poncho stepped up, confident. He struck it with a precise blow, not too hard, not too soft. The core vanished, leaving behind a pliable mass perfect for cooking. He transformed the slime liquid into a gelatinous dish. Everyone hesitated, forks hovering nervously, but Poncho grinned. This dish is like ramen from my world. The team could hardly believe their ears when they heard those words, and suddenly Soma found himself cornered as they said, "Why do you not taste it first and tell us what you think?" "Bon appétit, your majesty." Suma picked up a plate and sighed. "I brought this upon myself." He began eating in front of them, and the instant he tasted it, he was genuinely impressed and kept going with unexpected enthusiasm. His companions stared as he ate with such passion that they rushed for their own plates, devouring the food with greedy delight. For a moment, it looked as if they were ready to abandon the art of combat entirely just to rival Poncho in the art of eating. And that, my friend, is how the Royal Food Program signed off for the day, with the people buzzing with joy and sky-high engagement. A week later, Suma was seated in his office when a maid entered to inform him that the deputy wished to meet him and was waiting in the royal hall. Suma was puzzled and rose to see what was happening, only to find the deputy there with Hakuya. The deputy announced that he wished to resign from his post. Suma asked, "Why would you want to do that?" The deputy replied, "The former ruler abdicated the throne to you when he saw you were more worthy than himself. Therefore, I relinquish my position as deputy because I see you are far superior to me in this role. I hope you accept my resignation." Suma agreed with his reasoning but added, "You will remain in your post until you submit your resignation formally." The man nodded. "Very well." Then Hakuya spoke with a calm certainty. "Since I am your future deputy, believe me, you must take a break today and clear your mind. Since you arrived, you have done nothing but work. A king must take at least one day off from time to time so that everyone under his authority may also take leave when they need it. That way they will work with both efficiency and ease." Suma accepted the advice and went to find Licia training with Ashia in martial arts and dueling. He was astonished to see them wielding magic in their combat, powerful enough that if they kept going, they might destroy the training grounds outright. At that moment, Suma called them over, and when they sat together, he told them they would disguise themselves and tour the kingdom for relaxation. They disguised themselves as students from the military academy and took a carriage to one of the kingdom's cities. There, Suma said, "From now until we return, call me only by my name, no king, no prince. No one should sense our presence." Ashia laughed and teased him. "Shame on you, my friend. From now on, I will keep calling you the ruler of the kingdom, but I will not say king so that no one suspects." Suma groaned. "You fool! I feel as if I am speaking to a mindless creature. Focus with me a little." They continued their walk and strolled through the town for a while. After some time, Ashia felt hungry, so Suma suggested they dine at Juna's restaurant. It turned out Juna had opened a place nearby. They went in, and she greeted them joyfully. Suma leaned in and said quickly, "Do you remember me or not? I am the silk merchant from the kingdom of Chino. I hope you still remember me." Juna understood at once and smiled. "Of course I remember you. How have you been?" She did not tease him about his mother, but the meaning behind the act was perfectly clear. They sat at a table for lunch and ordered the gelatin. Juna spoke to Suma with great kindness, and Suma was clearly taken with her. Licia cut in, deadpan. "Control yourself, man, before I take matters into my own hands." Suma glanced at Ashia and found her completely immersed in the food, so he teased, "It seems you wish to rival Poncho in his talent for eating." Their attention shifted to a girl at another table, raising her voice in a way no one understood. To grasp what comes next, you must focus carefully. This is the kingdom of Frieden, the realm now ruled by Suma. Like any kingdom, it possesses a military to protect it. This is Lise, commander of the land forces, numbering about 40,000 soldiers. This is Excel of the naval forces, commanding over 10,000 sailors. And finally, this is Castor, commander of the aerial forces, leading around 1,000. It is said that the strength of a single dragon knight equals that of 1,000 human soldiers. In addition, there are special forces assigned to protect the king and the high officials, their number unknown. Long ago, this kingdom was founded after an alliance of different races. humans, beasts, elves, and half-dragons. Humans were chosen as rulers of the kingdom, for they were the most numerous at the time. The army commanders, of course, were chosen from different races, and I think that explanation is enough for now. So, let us continue. Back in the restaurant, the young woman's voice rose. "Do not dare to do that, Halbert." At first, Suma thought she was one of the mystic wolves like Tomoe, but she corrected him. She belonged to the Fox clan, not the wolves. Lisha recognized the young man at once. That is Halbert. He comes from a prestigious family. Once a knight at the Magic Academy, later a soldier in the army. Their conversation revealed the ugly truth. Halbert intended to stir chaos, planning to side with Gaius Amadonia's General Lys, commander of the infantry, and support him in a coup against the new king. And just to make matters worse, Suma was already at odds with Lys. No trust existed between them at all. Meanwhile, the young foxwoman tried to dissuade Halbert. "The kingdom is already in dire straits. If you sow division now, we may collapse, leaving ourselves open to invasion." The scene shifted to a flashback. Soma sat with Hakuya, studying maps of the kingdom's borders. Hakuya explained, "Our neighbors are neither allies nor enemies, except for the kingdom of Andoni. They are the most dangerous. Outwardly, they demand we send reinforcements to Frieden, but their real plan is to occupy our cities from within. They provoke discord between the king and his general, waiting for the moment to strike us from without. To put it plainly, Andoni is more dangerous than the demon kingdom itself." The scene cut back to the present. Kaid tried desperately to stop Halbert from plotting against the king. Suddenly, someone interrupted. She looked up and froze. Suma stood before her. Kaid nearly fainted. Suma led them into a private chamber. Halbert, still unaware who he was speaking with, grew angrier. "Who are you to interfere between us?" he shouted. Before he could say more, Ashia seized him by the collar and lifted him clean off the ground. Suma chuckled. "Leave him, my lady. He is no match for you. You are harsher than I expected." Halbert finally stared closely at Suma's face, and the truth hit him. The man before him was the king. Terror flooded him, nearly knocking the strength out of his legs. But Suma did not lash out. Instead, he asked calmly, "Why do you wish to join Lys? Why deepen the rift between us?" Before Halbert could answer, Suma continued, "For the record, if you choose to do so, I will not be angered. A ruler may choose his officers, but officers too may choose their leaders." It was then revealed that Kaede and Halbert were childhood friends. Suma addressed him once more. "Halbert, understand this. Kaede is a mage of the special forces sworn to protect the palace. If you join the opposition, one day you will face her. If not by your own hand, then by one of your companions, she will fall. Think carefully. Do not follow blindly." Suma's words struck deep. Halbert seemed shaken, even convinced. Shortly after Suma returned to Lysia, his telekinesis had grown remarkably stronger. But a maid interrupted, announcing that the head of House Magna Halbert's father awaited outside with Kaede and Halbert. Suma stepped out to meet them. He immediately saw that Halbert had been thoroughly disciplined. The boy's pride was gone, replaced by nervous humility. Halbert's father bowed and said, "I have come to apologize for my son's reckless words. Please forgive him." Suma smiled kindly. "Do not trouble yourself. I am not angry. Besides, it seems you have punished him enough." But the father's face hardened. "Punishment? That was nothing. When we return home, I will discipline him further." The poor young man looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. Suma raised a hand. "Calm yourself. What is past is past. Nothing has happened." Then he turned to Kaede. "You are hereby promoted to officer in the royal palace." Kaede's eyes widened. She bowed deeply, thanking him with joy. Soma then looked at Halbert. "And you will accompany Kaede as her assistant." Halbert's face lit up with gratitude, relief flooding him. But just then, his father spoke gravely to Suma. "There is a secret of utmost importance you must know, but I must tell you alone, for it is too dangerous to be spoken here." The royal hall was emptied, and Suma listened in silence. When the secret was spoken, it struck him with such force that even he, the ever-composed new king, was left in shock. Suma sat in silence, lost in thought. His words came out in a low murmur. "It seems there is something far greater behind this. But first, you must understand the foundation of this world. Magic here is divided into 6 elements: fire, water, earth, wind, light, and finally, darkness." He explained patiently. Fire, water, earth, and wind are the cornerstones of battle, each one with its unique power. Light magic heals and restores, but dark magic, that is the true calamity, deadly in every sense, unmatched by any other. He noted that magic can even be channeled into weapons, just as Lycia and Ashia had done during training. Armies themselves are organized by element. fire for the ground forces, wind for aerial divisions, water for the navy, and earth for the special forces directly under the king. And Soma's own magic? It belonged to the most feared category of all dark magic. Determined to test its potential, Suma embarked on a reckless experiment. He channeled his power into a puppet, crafted with precision. To the world, it posed as a human adventurer. Joining a party, the puppet became their odd companion. Its behavior puzzled them, but they trusted it enough to send it into the underground tunnels. The adventure took a sudden turn when a colossal serpent lunged from the shadows. Before the party leader could draw his blade, the puppet hurled itself at the monster and killed it instantly. But it didn't stop there. It dissected every monster in sight, leaving the others no chance to fight. The group pressed deeper into the tunnels, but one of the girls sensed danger. Her warning was proven right when disaster struck. From the depths emerged a salamander, a terrifying beast whose acidic attacks rendered ordinary weapons useless. The sorceress cast fire magic, but her companion cried out, "Toxie, no! Salamanders are immune to fire." Their only option was retreat. "Running is half of courage," he declared, and the party bolted. Yet the puppet stumbled and fell. The team hesitated, then threw a flash bomb to blind the monster. One of the girls rushed back to help, but the salamander's acid came down in a lethal spray. At the last moment, the puppet shielded her with its own body, enduring the full brunt of the attack. With strength unbroken, it carried her out, and together they fled the tunnels. Back in his chamber, Suma examined the damaged puppet in his hands. At that moment, Lisha entered. She froze in astonishment. "What are you doing? Wasn't this puppet smaller, or am I mistaken?" Suma answered calmly, "Yes, it was smaller. I asked a craftsman to create another with these specifications." Her eyes narrowed. "Could this be the mysterious adventurer the kingdom whispers about?" "Exactly," he replied. "I am conducting an experiment. I will explain later." The following day, Suma gathered the palace officials. He thanked them for their tireless efforts. "Because of you, we have collected great sums of money. Now we begin the royal project." He revealed his dream to build a coastal city that would serve the entire kingdom. Roads would connect it to every corner of the land, making food and resources easier to transport. His voice carried conviction. Food prices are unbearably high. If we ease transportation and replace cotton with food crops, we will end the famine entirely. The officials were moved. Suma rewarded them with a 5-day leave to honor their service. They left overjoyed. The next day, Suma traveled with Licia and Ashia to the construction site. There, the captain of the guard greeted him with a solemn salute and led him into his tent. His news was grave. A tribe dwells near this site. They absolutely refuse the project. According to their legend, this land belongs to the lake beast. If we build here, catastrophe will be unleashed across the region. Soma stiffened. "I want to meet one of these people immediately." The captain nodded. "The place is not far. I will take you to their chief." Soon, Suma stood before the tribal leader. But the man's eyes flared with hostility as he glared at the captain of the guard. "Get out of my sight before I smash your eye with my fist." Suma quickly stepped in, voice steady. "Chief, we have not come to disturb you. All I want is the truth about the lake monster." The chief glared at Suma with disdain. "And who are you supposed to be?" Suma answered without hesitation. "I am the new ruler of this kingdom." The old man froze in shock. After a moment, he invited Suma into his home and spoke with tears streaming down his face. "I beg you, do not build here." Since ancient times, whenever construction began in this place, the lake monster appeared and devoured everything. Buildings, people, all of it. No one has dared build here since. The elder unrolled a map, his hands trembling. Suma leaned forward. "Show me where this monster is said to appear." Later, back in the palace, Suma laid out the map before Hakuya. Hakuya scoffed. "What nonsense! Do not tell me you believe the words of that old man." Suma shook his head. "There is no such thing as a lake monster, but legends exist to send messages. Perhaps they were warning us never to build houses in that zone." His eyes narrowed. "What if the lake monster is just another name for a tsunami? The construction site lies in the danger zone." The question was clear. Cancel the project or move forward. Suma made his choice. The project will continue, but with changes. The site may be too dangerous for a seaport. We will move the port elsewhere. He explained calmly. "Tsunamis are preceded by earthquakes. That is our early warning. When one strikes, we evacuate to higher ground. This will be part of the royal project." Hakuya added, "Then we must also build permanent shelters with clear routes leading to them." And so, the royal project gained a new layer of protection. Meanwhile, Licia found herself growing ever more fond of Suma. The The scene shifted to the construction site of the new roads. There we found Halbert, utterly exhausted, sweat dripping, barely able to breathe. Suddenly, Candy loomed over him. "Why have you stopped working?" she barked. Halbert snapped back. "Why are you addressing me like this, Candy?" She glared. "Your day is cursed. Call me Commander Candy. You work under my authority and obey my orders. You are nothing more than a soldier here." It turned out that Suma had assigned his special army, normally tasked with protecting him, to roadwork so construction would not fall behind. Later, during their break, Halbert sat with Candy eating when Suma appeared. Halbert shot up and saluted immediately. Suma waved him down. "Calm yourself, my friend. Call me by my name. I consider you a companion." He moved on to inspect the work. He was delighted. The roads were being laid with concrete, lampposts installed along the routes, and countless trees planted. These were trees from the sacred forest, chosen because they emitted sound frequencies that drove monsters away. A brilliant idea from Ashia. But then a strange bird appeared overhead, circling. Suma frowned. It turned out to be a messenger bird from the sacred forest. Ashia opened the letter it carried, and her face turned pale. It was from her father, the chief of the Dark Elves. Catastrophe had struck, a landslide and heavy rains had killed many, with others still missing. The tribe was in chaos. Ashia burst into tears. Suma acted at once. "Kandi, gather all soldiers. We are going to the sacred forest." He turned to Ashia, his tone steady. "Do not worry, everything will be fine. But you must control your emotions. We need you to guide us there." He also sent Lisha back to the royal palace with orders: dispatch rescue teams immediately and bring weapons of every kind. Lisha obeyed at once. Suma asked Ashia, "How long will it take us to reach the forest?" "If we go by horseback, half a day. If we march, at least 2 days." Suma clenched his jaw. 2 days is too long. More lives will be lost. The problem: only one horse was available, the one that pulled Suma's carriage. Desperate, Suma turned to Halbert. "Tell me, does this world have transfer magic?" Halbert shook his head. "No such thing exists here. We are simple folk." Suma frowned. What to do? Then his eyes landed on the beasts hauling stones for construction. Inspiration struck. "God has granted us relief," he declared. He ordered the beasts to be harnessed for transport. And so, against all odds, they reached the sacred forest that very day. The chief of the Dark Elves came forth to greet Suma, gratitude etched on his face. "Thank you for answering our call." But Suma shook his head. "I am grateful for your words, but right now, there are lives to be saved." Suma arrived at the sacred forest with his soldiers and told the chief plainly, "I have brought all the men who were with me. The rest of the rescue teams and relief units will arrive in 2 days." He pressed the elder. "Now tell me exactly what happened." The chief explained, his voice heavy. "A landslide struck with the rains. Many are dead, many more are missing. We do not even know how many can be saved." Suma's jaw tightened. "Write me a list of the missing. We will search for them one by one. I want a group stationed at the mountain peak. If they sense the slightest tremor, they must warn us at once. Another landslide could hit during the rescue." Ashia immediately stepped forward. "I will take this duty myself. I will climb and observe the area from above." Suma gathered the soldiers and laid out the plan. "Take care of yourselves. If danger grows, evacuate immediately." The search began, and even Suma threw himself into the work. At one point, he heard faint cries nearby. He sprinted toward them. "Halbert, come dig with me." Together they uncovered one of the missing and carried him to safety. It was then revealed that Suma had devised yet another invention, a wooden mouse controlled by his magic. It crawled into collapsed spaces no soldier could reach, sniffing out survivors. By the end of the day, every missing person was found alive. The Dark Elf chief bowed deeply. "Had you not come, my son, these people would all be counted among the dead. Thank you." Relief swept the camp when Ashia rushed in with more news. "The aid convoys have arrived." Suma smiled in relief, but Robert the chief's brother spoke bitterly. "Their presence is pointless. Aid cannot change reality." Suma replied firmly. "It will treat the wounded. It will rebuild homes. It will protect those who remain." But Robert's voice broke. "Aid will never bring back the dead." It was then revealed that his wife had perished, and his daughter clung to life. Grief consumed him. When the carriages finally withdrew, Suma stood alone in thought. "I have been distracted by food and politics, but I have failed to prepare this kingdom for disaster. No more. I will establish rescue and relief units in every corner of the realm. No one shall die neglected during my reign." His heart was heavy with sorrow. Later, Juna visited him. She knocked softly, entered, and found him working even while lying in bed. "I heard you have not slept," she said gently. "Yes," Suma admitted, My body is weary, but my mind will not rest. There is too much to do. Juna sat beside him, urging softly, "Lie down properly." She patted his shoulder with tenderness. "You must rest. If you do not wish to show weakness before Lycia and the ministers, then show it here. I know how exhausted you are." Suma finally closed his eyes and drifted into deep slumber, while Juna remained by his side, singing softly. But elsewhere, the kingdom's military commanders met in secret. They plotted rebellion. Excel, commander of the navy, objected. "This turmoil is dangerous. It will invite invasion. Even now, Amadonia has surely sent letters both to the king and to us, playing both sides." He turned to Gaius. "And what do you think?" Gaius's eyes were cold. "This king is unfit to rule. He dismissed senior officials who served for decades. Worse, he is from another world and knows nothing of our history or customs." Excel pressed him. "Or do you simply want the throne for yourself?" Gaius snapped back. "No. I will depose him and restore the throne to our former sovereign. Only then will order return." Far away in Andonia, the king read a letter from Lys, commander of the infantry, requesting reinforcements to overthrow Suma. The Adonian king did not hesitate. He saw opportunity. "We shall seize their kingdom under the guise of sending aid." But at that moment, his son intervened. "What a truly criminal mindset. You are a devil in the guise of a man, father," the prince spat. The king only smiled coldly. "Exactly." Meanwhile, back in Alfredin, Suma sat in his office with Hakuya, sifting through reports and plotting the next move. The threat of war loomed larger by the hour, yet his thoughts wandered often to the family he had built in this strange new world. He could not bear the thought of losing them. His resolve hardened. He would bend the course of events itself if he had to. Across the border in Amadonia, the king assembled his forces and proclaimed, "The moment the commander of the ground forces rises against Suma, we shall seize Alfredin from the south." But a minister dared to speak. "My lord, please, let us not enter another war. If we do, our people will starve. We cannot endure such a burden." The king strode down from his throne and kicked the man viciously in the face. "Since Suma took the throne, their army has grown stronger, and their problems are being solved one by one. Shall we wait until they surpass us?" The minister gasped through blood. "And what harm if Alfredine grows strong? Should we not all unite against the demon kingdom?" Enraged, the king nearly killed him on the spot. Only the prince's swift hand saved him. The prince instead drafted a decree. The minister was dismissed and banished permanently from the palace. Back in Alfredine, Suma informed Lysia that he had arranged a meeting with the three commanders of the army. The council hall glowed with magical stones when they gathered. Suma rose. "This is the first time we all meet together. I am Suma, the new king. The throne was abdicated to me willingly." The commanders introduced themselves one by one, but Suma cut straight to the point. "Enough. If you persist in disobedience, I will treat you as traitors. The consequences will not be in your favor." Excel asked carefully, "Then what are your true intentions toward us, your majesty?" Suma spoke clearly. "I hold no ill will. But as things stand, the army is scattered, each unit commanded by its own leader. The king has no real control. That must change. The army will be unified under my direct authority. You will keep your commands, but the reins of power rest in my hands." Custer, commander of the aerial forces, bristled with fury. Suma pressed on, his voice hard as iron. "Our borders are surrounded by threats. Obey me, and you will lose nothing. And if I fail my duty as king, do not simply depose me. Execute me." The hall froze. Even battle-hardened commanders were stunned by his words. Excel, moved by his resolve, declared her support. "I stand with you, my king." But Custer slammed his fist down. "Never! I will not acknowledge you." He turned to Lycia. "What of your father? Was he forced from the throne?" Lycia stood tall. "No. My father abdicated willingly. He told me himself that Suma was more fit to rule than he." Custer sneered. "Even if that is true, I will never accept him. I joined Gorg Carmine in rebellion." Suma turned to Lys, commander of the ground forces, and said mockingly, "Of course I will not ask where you stand. You are the root of all our troubles." At last, they agreed on one thing. If war came, rules would be set. Should a commander fall, his soldiers must follow the king. Should the king fall, the opposite would hold true. And their battles must never involve civilians. Then Lysia stepped forward, her eyes blazing. With a swift motion, she cut her hair and cast it into the air, a solemn declaration of war. The council ended on that note. Afterward, Suma confided in Excel, weighed down with sorrow at his failure to sway Custer and Lies. But there was a silver lining. Juna appeared at Excel's side, and it was revealed she was her granddaughter. From the very beginning of Suma's reign, Excel had been loyal to him. Meanwhile, in Andoni, the king's son, Alsarma's heir, stood with 3,000 soldiers preparing to invade Alfredine. He sneered, "By the time we arrive, Suma and his general will have destroyed each other." But Suma was no fool. Together with Hakuya and Sam, he was already aware of Andoni's schemes, and shockingly, he did not appear concerned at all, as if every move was already accounted for. Elsewhere, another ruler named Gaius advanced with 5,000 soldiers toward one of Alfredine's border cities. The city's governor fell to his knees. "Please, do not attack. I will surrender the city to you. But give me time to persuade the soldiers to lay down their arms, for more than 90% of our people are ready to fight to the death." Gaius's temper flared. "I could erase you from the face of the earth right now." But his son stepped forward, calm but firm. "Father, we aim to reach the royal seat without losses. Let us not waste blood here." Gaius softened slightly and turned to the city's governor. "If you surrender willingly, I guarantee the safety of your people." The governor bowed and hurried back to the city, desperate to convince the citizens. But elsewhere, chaos erupted. Georg Carmine's forces launched a massive assault on one of Alfredin's fortresses. Fire mages and archers rained destruction while soldiers swarmed the gates. The disparity in numbers was terrifying. Inside, Kaidi and Halbert struggled desperately to hold the line. Albert charged forward, channeling fire into his spear and hurling it with explosive force, taking out ranks of enemy troops. Yet courage alone could not turn the tide. The enemy unveiled their trump card, 3 colossal cannons. With every thunderous blast, the fortress walls cracked and shuddered. Just when all seemed lost, a figure darted through the air at blinding speed. Projectiles meant for the walls were slashed from the sky. It was a dark elf hunter, the same one rescued in the forest. His precision dismantled the artillery barrage before it could land. Taking advantage of the moment, the fortress gates burst open and Alfredin's soldiers charged. They stormed the cannons, destroyed them, and retreated back inside. The tide shifted. When Georg Carmine heard the report, his fury boiled. "Withdraw at once. Reorganize the ranks." Back at Gaius's camp, the king grew furious. The city gates still remained shut. He ordered his son to prepare the army. But suddenly, a chilling sound rose from the city walls. The unmistakable roar of soldiers mobilizing to fight. The governor rushed out, face pale, bowing deeply. "Forgive me, my lord. I was delayed." The people choose death over surrender. Gaius's rage exploded. He drew his sword to strike the man down. In desperation, the governor offered him a bag of gold. "Give me until noon tomorrow. Let the soldiers see you as noble and wise." Gaius smirked and sheathed his blade. "Very well, but if the gates remain shut tomorrow, do not blame yourself." That night, the governor secretly met with Excel. They schemed to buy time exactly as Suma had planned from the start. The next morning, Georg Carmine's forces resumed their relentless assault on the fortress. Kaidi and Halbert fought with every ounce of strength, holding the walls inch by inch. At the same time, noon passed in Gaius's camp, the gates still closed. His patience snapped. "Enough, prepare for battle." But at that very moment, a thunderous shadow swept across the sky. Albert appeared, leading none other than the Dragon Knights. A hush fell over the field. Gaius muttered under his breath, despair in his eyes. "So, this is it. My end has come." We flash back to the Dragon Castle. Castor sat brooding, speaking to his aide. "Suma is a just ruler. Perhaps we wronged him, but pride forbids me from turning back." His servant pleaded, "The Dragon Knights want to join Suma." Castor shook his head. "No more than 100, the rest may leave. I will not stand beside corrupt officials who follow lease, but I cannot surrender either. I will fight with honor until my last breath." Just then, word arrived. Suma had approached the Dragon Castle on a warship. But this was no ordinary ship. Colossal monsters pulled it forward, while a massive wheel mechanism let it move on both land and sea. A communication stone lit up with Suma's voice. "Forgive me, my friend. I lacked soldiers and could not breach the walls. I had no choice but to use this ship." Moments later, fireballs slammed into the Dragon Castle. Castor actually laughed. "Clever, Suma. You've earned my respect." Suma offered him surrender. "Join me, Castor. Together we can rebuild." But Castor replied firmly, "Not to that extent. I will not yield the fortress so easily." The line cut. Flames devoured the castle. Castor gathered his knights and launched into the sky, aiming straight for Suma's warship. Anti-ship cannons roared, their projectiles tearing through the air. The knights swooped lower, weaving just above the waves, preparing to strike at the ship's wheels. The battle for Alfredine had only just begun. The dragon knights swooped down, arrows flashing past them harmlessly. They tore into Suma's warship and destroyed it completely, only to find it empty. Nothing more than a hollow shell stuffed with a decoy. A trap. Sam's handiwork. Carla, Castor's daughter, froze in disbelief at her father's predicament. The knights rushed back to the dragon castle, desperate. Inside, Suma had already breached the fortress. He stood face to face with Castor, who could only gape at the sheer audacity. Castor steadied himself and introduced his aide. "This is Pullman, my servant, an excellent commander of the aerial forces. Should anything happen to me, Suma, you will understand." He withdrew his men to prepare for combat. The clash was brutal. Castor lunged, but Ashia intercepted with lightning speed, driving him hard into the wall. He rose again, but Lycia and Boom joined in, weaving magic that blunted his assault. Ashia's final strike shattered his strength entirely. Castor collapsed, beaten, his pride in pieces. Breathless, he asked Lycia, "Is Suma truly a just ruler?" Without hesitation, she answered, "He is the finest king this realm has ever known. If my own father fought him, I would stand at Suma's side." Ashia then produced a strange collar, the kind used for slaves and prisoners of war. Bound to its master's will, it killed any who dared betray their lord. She fastened it around Castor's neck. Carla burst into the hall through a shattered window. Her fury burned, but Castor raised a hand. "Enough. The battle is over. Submit." Trembling, Carla obeyed. Ashia placed the collar on her as well. Meanwhile, Castor spoke with Pullman, appointing him commander of the aerial forces, then gathered his remaining knights and prepared to march toward Lys. At the fortress, Albert's heart nearly stopped when he saw the dragon knights approach. Until the truth dawned, Suma had seized the dragon castle. Relief crashed over him like a wave. When Suma arrived, Albert greeted him warmly. "I've brought the aerial weapon," Suma announced. Albert grinned. "I stood fast as planned. But it wasn't even a day and a half I left you with them." Barrett, however, exploded in anger. "Fool, idiot. Do you know what we endured? Cannons bombarding us non-stop?" Candy stiffened at his tone, while Carla looked scandalized at the way Albert scolded the king. Lycia only smiled. "The king loves him. Albert is not just a subject, he is family. That is why he speaks so freely." Meanwhile, in Ice, dismissed officials whispered in fear. Suma now commanded both Georg Carmine's ground forces and Castor's aerial army. Their days were numbered. At that same moment, Georg Carmine himself realized the truth. He had lost. With no path forward, he surrendered. One corrupt official proposed using civilians as human shields to escape. Lys's disgust boiled over. "I knew you were without honor." One by one, he forced the officials to don slave collars, including beret. Even his own assistant was bound. Soon, white banners rose above Lys's castle. The fortress had fallen, though the soldiers watching had little idea how completely. From there, Suma marched west, taking command of Lys's army and bringing Carla with him. Along the way, he explained everything. In a flashback, we saw Albert's father once confessing to Suma in the palace. Lys's rebellion was a trap to lure every traitor and corrupt official into one place, where they could all be dealt with. Suma understood. Georg Carmine had chosen this path not for glory, but to pave the way for Suma's rule. Meanwhile, a colossal threat loomed at Alfredine's borders. Gaius's army gathered to wipe the city off the map. But then, in a stunning twist, Axel herself appeared. Gaius was shaken to his core. What is she doing here? She should be fighting alongside Georg Carmine and Castor. Axel raised her staff and conjured a massive mirror of water. Through it, Suma's image appeared, broadcast across the kingdom. His voice thundered. "I have seized control of the ground army and the aerial forces. The civil war is finished. But now we must address the greater matter. The kingdom of Andonia has exploited our instability and sent an army under the dog Gaius to seize our land. Therefore, I declare war upon Andonia. As for you, dog, yes, you watching this, I will teach you decorum. Even now, I dispatch an army to your gates. I shall erase your kingdom from history. You started this war, and the one who starts it will face the darkest reckoning." Terror gripped Gaius. His soldiers broke ranks, retreating in panic. Elsewhere, in Andonia itself, the Minister of Finance rushed to Gaius's daughter with dreadful news. Her father and his army had been ambushed on their retreat. Gaius's daughter sighed bitterly. "Then my reckless father must have chosen the Golden Valley. He always assumed it was the surest path back to the kingdom." She was right. Gaius's battered army trudged through the valley, only to be met by hellfire. Artillery rained down in a storm of shells. The air reeked of death. More than half his men were annihilated in minutes by Jin's forces, 15,000 strong. The survivors were few, staggering, and broken. Somehow, Gaius clawed his way out of the valley with the remnants of his army and reached the borders of Van, the capital. Relief flickered across his face until he realized Suma had already established a fortified camp mid-route waiting for him. The trap snapped shut. Suma raised his hand, and the commander of the guard launched the final assault. The clash was brutal. Candy's magic carved through enemy lines with surgical precision. Halbert unleashed fire sorcery, his spear scorching whole ranks at once. Gaius's exhausted men fell like wheat before the scythe. The difference in strength was overwhelming. While the battlefield raged, Suma sat quietly, observing. Carla confronted him, shocked. "Why are you here? You should be far from danger." Suma's gaze was steady. "The lives of my soldiers are not more precious than my own. If we fail, I must pay the price beside them." Carla's voice trembled. "Are you not afraid of death?" "I am," he admitted. "But I fear more for the family I've built here and for every soldier who fights under my banner." On a distant ridge, Gaius watched the tide turn against him. He turned to his son. "Withdraw the men. Flee. I will not have you die here." His son was stunned. "I will not leave you." "This is my fault," Gaius snapped. "Our soldiers were broken from Golden Valley, yet I threw them into another battle. As your king, I command you, withdraw." The son pleaded, "Then you must come with me." But Gaius already knew Suma would never let him retreat alive. Escape was impossible. His son fled, and Gaius, burning with desperation, rallied 500 men and charged Suma's camp directly. News reached Suma. Gaius himself was advancing. Suma's eyes hardened. This was the moment. He ordered Carla, "Go to Lise, stay by his side. If I fall, I leave the throne to you." Carla shook her head fiercely. "Impossible. I will not abandon my king. If you die, I die beside you." Drawing on every ounce of courage, she charged toward Gaius. The clash was savage. Suma's enchanted doll leapt into the fray, shielding Carla at the brink of death. Furious, Gaius bellowed, "I will flog you myself!" He struck at Suma, but the doll restrained him. Suma shouted, "Carla, detonate the doll." She obeyed. The explosion ripped through the field, engulfing Gaius. When the smoke cleared, Suma rushed to Carla only to see Gaius still clinging to life, staggering forward. A torrent of magic from Suma's forces smashed into him, and at last the warlord fell, lifeless. The war was over. Suma had captured Van, the capital of Andonia. When news reached Gaius's daughter, grief consumed her. He lived greedy and died foolish. She turned her back and walked away. In Van, Suma received reports and made a declaration. "We will not seize the rest of Andonia. From this day forward, there will be no more wars." Orgard Carmine pressed him. "This is our chance to take all their lands." "Why stop?" Suma's tone was solemn. "Andonia is part of the alliance against the Demon Kingdom, alongside the Empire of Giron. If we overreach, they will intervene. We might lose everything. For now, we negotiate. Even if Andonia provoked this war, they remain allies of the alliance. We are not yet members." The scene shifted to the Empire of Giron. Its ruler, Princess Maria, a kind sovereign, beloved for her fairness, who treated all her subjects as equals. Princess Maria wasn't just beloved, she was adored. The people held her in near reverence, a ruler who led with fairness and compassion. But her sister Jean was made of sterner stuff. Courteous, yes, but determined. She approached Maria with a plan. She had raised a massive army, and she intended to march with part of it to Adonia to resolve the conflict there. Maria's response was calm but firm. "Remember, Adonia started this war. Even so, try to negotiate with the new king, and above all, protect yourself." Meanwhile, in Adonia, the people seemed oddly joyful, unbothered by their recent occupation. Life continued freely, almost as if nothing had changed. Then Gaius's daughter appeared, speaking with the Minister of Finance. "The people rejoice because my father returned their freedoms," she said, a dangerous reminder that her father's iron-fisted rule had, at least, left them scraps of liberty. If the empire pressed too hard, it could spark unrest and tilt the people toward rebellion, or worse, toward restoring her brother to power. Elsewhere, Hakuya delivered grim news to Suma. 50,000 soldiers of the Empire of Giron are on the move toward Adonia. They'll arrive soon. At the same time, another detachment reached Adonia early to report on the Empire's advance. Suma only nodded. "Keep me informed of every detail." Later, Suma strolled incognito through the city with Jin, guards discreetly watching from afar. It looked like a rare day of peace. He ducked into a shop and returned with armfuls of gifts for Tomoe clothes, shoes, even a delicate hairpin. She ran to him, eyes bright with joy. "Do not forget Lycia's gift," she teased. Suma smiled. I have not. I bought for both of you. They settled in a quiet spot with Sam, eating and laughing, a king taking time to simply be a brother and friend. But peace never lasts long. Jean herself, Princess Maria's sister, appeared. Her presence snapped the air tense. Jin's hand went for her weapon until Jean raised a hand. I am not here to fight. I bring a message from my sister, Princess Maria. She looked Suma straight in the eye. Rumor spread that you plundered Adonia, bankrupted its people, fed them unfit food, and imprisoned their daughters. I came to verify this myself. Suma blinked. Neither I nor the Antichrist have done such things. As she stayed with them, Jean noticed something. Jin spoke to Suma with casual ease, addressing him as a friend, not a fearful subordinate. She saw Carla laughing, Tomoe smiling. This was no tyrant's court. She began to understand the truth. Suma's closeness to his people was proof of his character. I will leave you for now, she said at last. We will meet again to seek a solution that satisfies all sides. When she learned Suma hailed from another world, summoned because Alfredin had no hope left, her respect deepened. He had turned ruin into prosperity after the old king abdicated. She resolved to meet him again formally to negotiate peace. Back at the palace, Tomoe twirled happily in her new clothes, showing them off to Lycia. Suma presented Lycia with a necklace. I could never forget you, my friend. Her face lit up. Suma, watching her, made a vow deep in his heart. Everything I do from this day forward will be for her happiness, for the safety of my family. I will root out corruption and give my people eternal peace. And with that, the curtain fell. Season 1 of the Suma anime concluded. Wars fought, kingdoms shaken, alliances tested, and a king who vowed to protect all he held dear. So, what did you think of this season, my friend? Leave a comment, hit like if you want us to keep the journey going, subscribe for the next arc, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you're the first to see when Season 2 drops. Because trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next.